This was the life of Ishmael, the son of Abraham and Hagar, father of the Arabs. He was the firstborn of Abraham, named by God before he drew his first breath, circumcised alongside his father as a sign of the covenant, raised for 13 years as the only son, the only heir, the center of a patriarch's world. And then one morning, his father handed his mother a skin of water and a loaf of bread and sent them into the desert to die. This is the story of the one who was cast out. It begins in Hebron. In the oak groves of Mamre, near Hebron, Abraham's camp stretched across the hillside. Hundreds of tents, thousands of sheep and cattle, servants, herdsmen, trained fighters. By any measure of the ancient world, Abraham was a wealthy and powerful man. But inside the largest tent, there was silence. Abraham was 85 years old. Sarah was 75. God had promised them a son, a seed that would become a great nation, a lineage that would outnumber the stars. That promise had been spoken decades ago, and decade after decade, the cradle mats remained empty. The silence inside that tent was louder than anything outside it. In the ancient Near East, childlessness was not merely personal grief, it was social death. A man without an heir had no future. His name would vanish from the earth. His wealth would scatter. His legacy would dissolve like morning fog. Everything Abraham had built, every herd, every well, every alliance, was a kingdom with no prince. Sarah made a decision. Under Mesopotamian custom, specifically paragraphs 144 through 146 of the Code of Hammurabi, a barren wife could provide her maidservant to her husband to bear a child on her behalf. The child would legally belong to the wife. It was not a sin. It was not an invention. It was the standard protocol of the ancient world, a desperate human attempt to help God keep an impossible promise. She gave her Egyptian servant to Abraham. Her name was Hagar. Hagar had been acquired years earlier during Abraham's sojourn in Egypt. Genesis chapter 12 records that Pharaoh gave Abraham male and female servants. Jewish tradition in Genesis Rabbah suggests that Hagar may have been of royal Egyptian lineage, a daughter of Pharaoh's house who entered Abraham's camp not as a slave by birth, but as a diplomatic gift. Whether or not that tradition holds, one fact is certain: Hagar did not choose any of this. She did not choose to leave Egypt. She did not choose Abraham. She did not choose to become a surrogate for another woman's grief. She was property, being used to solve a problem that was never hers. But God saw her, and what he would give her, he gave no one else in all of Scripture. When Hagar conceived, the hierarchy inside the tent shattered. The slave now carried what the mistress could not produce, and something shifted in Hagar. Genesis chapter 16 says that when she saw she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. The powerless woman, for the first time in her life, had something Sarah did not. Sarah's response was severe. The Hebrew word is te'anaha. She afflicted her, humiliated her, dealt with her so harshly that a pregnant woman chose the open desert over the safety of the camp. Hagar ran into the wilderness of Shur, toward Egypt, toward the only home she had known before Abraham's tent erased her identity. She was pregnant, she was alone, and she was walking toward a desert that would kill her before she ever saw the Nile. In that burning wasteland, where no human eye was watching, someone stepped into her path. The angel of the Lord found Hagar by a spring of water on the desert road. He called her by name. He told her to return, but he also gave her something no runaway slave could have expected: a personal, divine promise. I will multiply your descendants exceedingly, so that they shall not be counted for multitude. You shall bear a son, and you shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has heard your affliction. Ishmael. In Hebrew, Yishmael. Two words fused into one name. Yishma, he will hear. El, God, God hears. The child was named before he took his first breath, and the name was not a description of the boy, it was a description of God. The name declared what heaven does when the powerless cry out. And then Hagar did something extraordinary, something no other human being in the entire Bible would ever do. She spoke into the desert air and gave God a name. "You are El Roi, the God who sees me." She named the spring Bir Lahai Roi, the well of the living one who sees me. A foreign, runaway Egyptian slave woman, pregnant, abused, alone, became the first person in all of Scripture to give God a name. Not Abraham, not Noah, not Moses, Hagar, the one with no status, no power, and no advocate. God saw her, and she saw him back, and she called him by name. She returned to Abraham's camp. Ishmael was born. Abraham was 86 years old, and for 13 years, that boy was everything. Most readers skip from Genesis 16 to Genesis 17 as though it were a page turn. It was not a page turn. It was 13 years, an entire childhood. Ishmael's first steps between the tent ropes, his first word, likely Abba, his first time holding a lamb, his first time walking the hills with his father under the desert stars, learning to read the sky, learning which wells held water in summer, learning the weight of responsibility that came with being the son of Abraham. For 13 years, Abraham had one son, one heir, one boy who ran to meet him when the flocks came home. Ishmael was not a placeholder. He was not a backup plan. He was the center of an old man's entire world. Then God spoke again. Abraham was 99. Ishmael was 13. And God said, "Sarah herself will bear you a son. You shall call him Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him." Abraham fell on his face, and he prayed the most overlooked prayer in the Old Testament. "Oh, that Ishmael might live before you." He was not rejecting Isaac. He was begging God not to discard his firstborn. "Whatever you do with this new son, please do not forget my boy." God answered, "As for Ishmael, I have heard you. I have blessed him and will make him fruitful and will multiply him exceedingly. He shall beget 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation." That same day, Abraham circumcised Ishmael. Father and 13-year-old son entered the covenant mark together, blood and promise, side by side. For a brief, fragile window, both sons existed under the same tent, under the same father, under the same sky. It would not last. Isaac was born. Abraham was 100 years old. Sarah held the child she had waited for across the span of her entire adult life. And a great feast was held for Isaac's weaning, the celebration that marked the child's transition from infancy to boyhood. Ishmael, by this time, was approximately 16 years old. During the feast, Sarah saw Ishmael doing something that changed everything. The Hebrew word is metzachek. Most English translations render it mocking or scoffing, but the word carries a secret that most readers never discover. Metzachek is the intensive verbal form of the root tzachak, to laugh, to play. It is the exact same root from which Isaac's name is derived. Yitzchak, he laughs. Ishmael was not mocking, he was Isaacing, laughing, playing, acting like the older brother, acting like the firstborn heir at a feast celebrating the secondborn. To Sarah, this was not harmless. It was an inheritance crisis. As long as Ishmael stood in the camp, Isaac's claim to the birthright was divided. 2 sons of one father, the elder with 13 years of bond, the younger with the covenant. Sarah saw the future splitting in two, and she acted with brutal precision. "Cast out this slave woman and her son, for the son of this slave woman shall not be heir with my son Isaac." She did not say Hagar's name. She did not say Ishmael's name. This slave woman, her son. She erased them linguistically before she erased them geographically. Abraham was deeply distressed. The Hebrew word yera implies the thing was grievous, evil in his sight. This was his son. 14 years of fatherhood. Every morning, every evening, every campfire lesson, every walk through the hills. And now God spoke in the night and said, "Do not be distressed because of the boy and because of your slave woman. Listen to Sarah, for in Isaac your seed shall be called, but of the son of the slave woman I will also make a nation, because he is your seed." Because he is your seed. God acknowledged what the world would try to erase. Ishmael was Abraham's son, and God had plans for him that did not depend on Sarah's tent. Abraham rose early the next morning. He took bread. He took one skin of water. He placed them on Hagar's shoulder. He placed the boy in her care. One loaf, one skin. For the wilderness of Beersheba, no servants, no camels, no flock, no blessing spoken over the road, just bread, water, and the desert horizon stretching to the edge of the world. And they were gone. She wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. The water ran out, not suddenly, gradually, the skin getting lighter on her shoulder, the last tilt, the last drop on a cracked lip, the damp residue inside the leather, then nothing. The boy collapsed. Heat and thirst and the weight of everything his young body had carried since the morning his father handed him to his mother and turned away. Hagar took her son and placed him under one of the shrubs. The Hebrew word is hishlika. She cast him, she threw him, not cruelty. The desperate motion of a mother whose arms can no longer hold what her heart refuses to release. Then she walked away. About a bowshot distance, Kimtacheve Keshet, roughly 100 meters, the distance an archer stands from the target, far enough that she would not have to watch his chest stop rising, close enough that she could not leave him entirely. She sat in the sand, she turned her face, and she wept. "Let me not see the death of the boy." The boy wept too, under the shrub, in the dust. His tears were the last water left in the entire scene. And then God did what his name had always promised he would do. Genesis chapter 21 verse 17, "And God heard the voice of the boy." Stop. His name is Ishmael. God hears. 14 years before this afternoon, standing at a spring in the desert of Shur, God gave this child a name. Not a name for his achievements, not a name for his future kingdom, a name for this exact moment, this dust, this bush, this dying boy whimpering in the heat. God did not wait for a sacrifice. He did not require an altar or a priest or a covenant renewal. Heaven heard the faint voice of a discarded teenager gasping in the desert, and the name that had been spoken over him before birth became the very mechanism of his survival. The angel of God called from heaven, "What troubles you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heard the voice of the boy where he is. Arise, lift up the boy, and hold him with your hand, for I will make him a great nation." Where he is, not where Sarah wanted him, not where Abraham sent him, not where the world placed him, where he is. God meets people in their actual position, not their ideal one. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. The well had been there all along. Every step she had wandered, every moment she had wept, the water had been present beneath the ground or behind the brush, invisible to eyes blinded by despair. God did not create the well in that moment. He opened her eyes to what was already there. She filled the skin. She gave the boy a drink. He swallowed, his eyes focused, his chest steadied. He lived, and the God who heard him in the dust did not simply rescue him, he rebuilt him. Genesis chapter 21 verse 20. God was with the boy and he grew up. He lived in the wilderness of Paran and became an expert with the bow. The wilderness of Paran. The vast, harsh terrain of the northern Sinai Peninsula, jagged red sandstone, deep canyons, flat gravel plains where the sun does not warm, but punishes. The same wilderness where Israel would later wander for 40 years. Ishmael did not wander, he thrived. He became an archer, Rover Kashat. And here, the story folds back on itself with a symmetry that stops you cold. When Hagar placed her dying son under the bush, she walked away a bow-shot distance, Kim Tachave Keshet. The bow was a unit of grief. It measured how far a mother had to walk so she would not have to watch her child die. Now the bow was in Ishmael's hands. The very word that once described a mother's distance from death became the instrument of her son's survival, his dignity, and his mastery. The weapon of grief became the weapon of sovereignty, and the prophecy spoken over him before birth came alive. Genesis chapter 16, he shall be a pear Adam, a wild donkey of a man. Most translations make this sound like a curse. It was the opposite. In the ancient Near East, the wild donkey, the onager, was the king of the open steppe. Job chapter 39 describes it. Who let the wild donkey go free? He scorns the noise of the city. The shouts of the driver he does not hear. He ranges the mountains for his pasture. The onager answered to no master, bowed to no king, submitted to no yoke. God was not cursing Ishmael. He was promising him, you will be untamable, you will be free, you will answer to no human throne. His mother took a wife for him from the land of Egypt. Hagar reached back to her own homeland, her own heritage, and anchored her son's lineage to the ancient civilization of the Nile. The blood of Abraham and the culture of Egypt fused in a single family. Ishmael's dynasty was born, and while Scripture turned its camera toward Isaac in Canaan, Ishmael built a world of his own in the wilderness, mastering the caravan routes between Egypt, Arabia, and Mesopotamia, raising sons, training archers, and establishing a desert empire that would echo through centuries. Jewish tradition preserved in the Midrash Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer records something Scripture does not, that Abraham traveled south into the wilderness to visit his son. According to the tradition, Ishmael was away from his tent. His first wife was cold and unwelcoming, offering Abraham no hospitality. Abraham left a coded message, "Tell your husband to change the peg of his tent." Ishmael understood and divorced her. Years later, Abraham returned. Ishmael was away again, but his second wife welcomed the old stranger with bread and water and spoke well of her husband. Abraham left a second message, "Tell your husband the new peg of his tent is good." Abraham traveled to the desert. He sat in his son's tent. He tasted his son's bread. The expulsion had ended the household. It had not ended the father. Genesis chapter 25 records the 12 sons of Ishmael: Nebaioth, Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedema. 12 princes, exactly as God had promised Abraham when the old man fell on his face and cried, "Oh, that Ishmael might live before you." God said 12 princes. God delivered 12 princes, and the parallel is impossible to miss. Jacob, the son of Isaac, would also father 12 sons, the 12 tribes of Israel. Both the chosen line and the centerway line produced exactly 12. God's promise to Abraham was fulfilled with mathematical precision on both sides of the family. The covenant with Isaac was real. The blessing on Ishmael was equally real. God did not choose one and forget the other. He kept every word he spoke to both. These were not minor figures forgotten by history. Assyrian royal inscriptions from the reigns of Tiglath-Pileser III and Sennacherib document the Kedarites, descended from Kedar, as one of the most powerful nomadic confederations in the ancient Near East. The oasis of Tema became a major commercial hub in northwestern Arabia, significant enough that the Babylonian king Nabonidus later established his residence there. The kingdom of Adumatu, Duma, appears in Assyrian military records. The boy who was thrown under a bush in Beersheba fathered princes whose names were carved into the war records of empires. But the echoes in this family do not end with the 12 princes. Generations later, another rejected firstborn would seek out Ishmael's family. Esau, Isaac's eldest son, who lost his birthright and his blessing to Jacob, traveled to the wilderness and married Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, the sister of Nebaioth. The cast-out son of Isaac married the daughter of the cast-out son of Abraham. There is a pattern in Scripture that nobody preaches. The ones who are pushed aside find each other. And the most astonishing echo of all is not about Ishmael's sons or Esau's marriage. It is about Isaac himself. In Genesis chapter 24, verse 62, as Isaac is waiting in the fields for his bride Rebekah to arrive, the text tells us exactly where he was living. Beer Lahai Roi, the well of the living one who sees me. Hagar's well. After Abraham's death, Genesis chapter 25, verse 11 confirms it again. Isaac dwelt at Beer Lahai Roi. The chosen son, the heir of the covenant, the father of Jacob, the one for whom Ishmael was sent away, chose to live at the exact spring where God rescued his brother's mother. He made his permanent home in the geography of Ishmael's deliverance. He drank daily from the water that had saved the life of the one who was cast out. The text never explains why. It does not need to. Isaac knew what happened at that well. He knew the story of the pregnant slave woman who ran, the God who found her, and the name she gave him. And he built his life there. A quiet, wordless declaration that the brothers were never as separated as the narrative made them appear. Abraham died at 175 years old, full of years. And what happened next is one of the most profound single verses in all of Genesis. His sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah after decades of separation, after the morning with the bread and the water skin, after the desert and the bush and the well and the bough, after the 12 princes and the Egyptian wife and the caravan routes through Paran. After all of it, Ishmael came back. He rode out of the wilderness. Isaac came from Beer Lahai Roi, from Hagar's well, and the two brothers stood shoulder to shoulder in the darkness of a limestone cave in Hebron, laying the body of their father into the earth. Scripture records not a single word spoken between them. No argument, no accusation, no debate over birthrights or blessings, or the morning their father chose obedience over instinct. Just two weathered men, one from the tents of Canaan, one from the desert camps of Arabia, performing the oldest human duty together. The Talmud in Bava Batra notes that Isaac's name appears before Ishmael's in the verse. Some rabbis read this as evidence that Ishmael voluntarily gave precedence to his younger brother, that by the time of Abraham's burial, Ishmael had made peace with the covenant order. He stepped aside, not in bitterness, in grace. The firstborn honored the chosen one, and the chosen one had already honored the firstborn by living at his mother's well. Some reconciliations do not need an audience. Some reunions require no speech. What passed between those two men in the cool darkness of Machpelah belongs to them and to the God who brought them there. Ishmael lived to 137 years. Genesis chapter 25 records his death with a phrase that carries more weight than most readers realize. He breathed his last and died, and was gathered to his people. Gathered to his people. This is the patriarchal honor formula, the exact phrase used for Abraham, for Isaac, for Jacob, for Moses. It is the language reserved for the righteous dead, the honored ancestors, those who completed their course and entered the company of the faithful. God did not treat Ishmael's death as a footnote. He gave him the same closing dignity he gave the covenant fathers, and the legacy did not end with his death. It grew. In Islamic tradition, Ismail is revered as a prophet, a righteous servant of God, and a direct ancestor of the Prophet Muhammad through the line of Kedar. The well that God revealed to Hagar in the wilderness is identified in Islamic heritage as the Zamzam well in Mecca, and to this day millions of pilgrims drink from it during the Hajj. The desperate running of Hagar, searching for water to save her dying son, is ritually reenacted each year by pilgrims running between the hills of Safa and Marwa. Islamic tradition records that Abraham and Ishmael together constructed the Kaaba, the sacred house in Mecca, a boy under a bush in the wilderness of Beersheba. 3,000 years later, 1.8 billion people on earth trace their spiritual heritage to that moment. The boy God heard crying in the dust became the father of a civilization that stretches from the Atlantic coast of North Africa to the islands of Southeast Asia. There are two sons in this ancient story. One was chosen to carry the covenant line, the temple, the prophets, the Messiah. One was sent into the wilderness with a single skin of water. For centuries, teachers have treated Ishmael as a footnote, an error, a fleshly detour, a mistake that needed correcting before the real story could begin. Some have reduced him to an allegory, a symbol of the flesh versus the spirit, the law versus the promise, the rejected versus the elect. But Ishmael was not a metaphor. He was a boy, named by God, loved by his father, circumcised alongside Abraham, heard by heaven in the dust. God named him before he was born. God heard his tears when human water ran dry. God opened his mother's eyes to a well that had been there all along. God made him fruitful, gave him 12 princes, granted him 137 years of life, and brought him home to bury his father alongside his brother. If you have ever felt like the cast-out one, if you have ever been discarded by a system that ran out of room for you, passed over in a family that chose someone else, or left under a dry bush, wondering why you were not the one who was chosen, this is what Scripture says about people like you. God heard, God saw, God blessed, God remembered. Human systems will always run out of water. The skin empties, the bread runs out. The provision that people give you is never enough for the journey you have to walk. But the God who sees, El Roy, and the God who hears, Yishmael, does not forget the ones the world sends away. The prayer that Abraham prayed over his firstborn, "Oh, that Ishmael might live before you," God answered it, completely, permanently, across 3,000 years and 5 continents and 1.8 billion living souls. God heard a boy crying under a bush in the desert, and that boy's name was the answer all along. His name was Ishmael, and his name means God hears. If this journey into the life of Ishmael opened something in you, if the well in the wilderness spoke to you, or if the silence between two brothers at their father's grave did, subscribe and stay with us. Every person who joins helps bring these forgotten biblical truths to someone who might be feeling like the one who was sent away right now, someone who needs to hear that God has not forgotten them and that heaven still hears.